Hi, so I'm going to talk about Jimmy. So we're going to meet Jimmy. He was a underachiever who was identified as gifted in my class. So his performance was that he was very distracted by his own thinking. He wouldn't finish work independently. He talked to himself. He had to be reinforced consistently. He was very high in math but low in reading, and he was very unmotivated. As I mentioned, he is a gifted learner who was in my class. He was not performing to grade level or my expectations. His additional needs were he needed more support at home, he needed consistent feedback and encouragement, he needed higher level mathematical activities, games, and problems, and he had to be checked on his behavior and work. So my Jimmy needed an RtI response intervention framework. An RtI is a framework that involves all students, including those identified as gifted. It requires collaboration to challenge instruction services. And Jimmy, he needed a problem-solving method. So he needed an EP, which is an educational plan to address strengths of the student and needs beyond general curriculum and classroom. So then you had to do an RtI team meeting. And who's in this meeting? Well, teachers, parents, administrators, resource teachers, counselors, and instructional coaches. What is the focus of the meeting? To have data and the progress of the student to give the appropriate resources to fulfill their needs as a gifted learner. How will the meeting run? Will be run by progress monitoring team. So all the people that I mentioned before, they establish data, documentation, use of resources, accommodations, and acceleration. So based on what the student needs, we'll focus on that in the meeting. What should happen during all parts of the meeting? Well, communication should be happening. There should be data and progress, and that is discussed with everyone. So then after that, we decide on the next steps, the lessons or ideas to help students exceed goals in the educational plan of a student. What intervention will I choose? So I decided for Jimmy that he would have needed a tier 2 or 3, because in tier 1 with me, he was very distracted. I knew his abilities. So I think he did very better with small group sizes. So if he had a tier 2 or 3, then he'll be focused, he'll complete his work, he had his individual interest in math on his level. So this differentiation is related to gifted programming and identification because it analyzes students' needs and intelligence. So we use almost the same tools in establishing eligibility and differentiation, such as the test scores, formative assessments, class performance, observations, and so many more tools. So it's just based on the needs and looking at the data that we have to see how we could fulfill their goals in their education plan. As a teacher, we also have to design interventions for the student. We have to consult on the student's needs. We have to see what available resources and services we have for the child. We have to provide documentation and data. You have to become familiar with the student behaviors to see what bothers them, what helps them, and use that to your advantage. So I drew a quick little picture of the tier 1, which is the whole class instruction, tier 2, which is a targeted small group instruction or enrichment of interest or specialized class for a gifted learner. Tier 3 is very intensive, specialized individual learning, or you can even have acceleration for this tier. This is one of the best tiers for students with disabilities or students identified as gifted, but it's very hard to fulfill all those students with a tier 3 unless they really have to and we have that data. And when Jimmy did all of these, and he got the tier 2 and 3, he was an underachiever, but with all that differentiation and with the RtI framework, he became an overachiever as a gifted learner.